Okay, students, today I'm going to give you some helpful tips on playing and reading notes with both hands at the same time. And the first tip I have for you is spend ample time mastering each clef separately. If you're new to reading music, it is a mistake to begin reading notes with both clefs right away. Of course, unless you're some kind of prodigy, which most of us are not. I know I'm not. I have a lot of students come to me and say, I'm really having a lot of trouble reading with both hands together. I really, I'm getting confused between the notes. And they've only been learning piano for a couple of weeks. And it really takes time, it's really easy to understand how to read music, at least in my opinion, and you might struggle with it more than I do, but where a lot of students I find go wrong, even if they're really good at reading music, is if they start learning the treble clef and practicing the treble clef and bass clef at the same time right away, they'll start to confuse the lines and spaces between each clef and start to mix them up in their head. So what I recommend you do is master that treble clef, master that bass clef separately first to where you can identify any line or space on each and then start to put them together. It doesn't make much sense to do that right away. All right, let's get on to the next tip I have for you, which is read notes from the bottom to the top. And you always want to do it like this. You always want to have that as a consistency. Now, why am I making you do this, or why am I telling you about this? Well, this is for the simple fact that this will help alleviate confusion, because what happens to a lot of students is they will try to read notes and it's like their methodology is all over the place. So let me get my pen out here with us. They might read this note first. They may say, okay, that's a B, and then this one is, a D, and then this one's a G, and then what was this one again? I totally forget. So always from the bottom to the top, you want to be reading these notes. It also really helps with chords, since chords are always read from the bottom to the top. For instance, I have these three notes here, G, B, and D, all played at the same time, and it takes a little music theory knowledge in addition to this, but because I can read the notes from the bottom to the top, I know exactly what chord it is, and it'll especially help when you start doing chord inversions as well. So always from the top to the bottom, no, from the bottom to the top. All right, let's talk about the next tip I have for you, which is read notes in columns. This will help you group notes together rhythmically. If the notes fit into a column, that means they are meant to be played at the same time. So let me show you what exactly I mean by this. So here, I'll have both up here, the piano, and actually, you know what? Let's do the sheet music first, and then I'll add in the piano. So you want to be reading them in columns, up and down, like this. See how all those notes fit into a vertical column? Well, that means that you're going to be hitting all of those notes at the same time. Now keep in mind that some of them may be quarter notes, some of them may be half notes, and you're going to hold them for different amounts of time. But basically, using the column strategy, you can figure out when notes hit together. Let's pick out some more. So take a look here. This fits into a column. So therefore, this note and this note are going to be played at the same time. This is going to fit into a column. They're going to be played at the same time. And then you can, after the columns, you can kind of piece out where the notes fit that aren't a part of that and kind of space them out appropriately. So this is how I read music all the time, or one of the things I use is I look at them in columns. It makes it a heck of a lot easier when you do that, rather than just kind of darting around all over the place. So up and down, that's where the harmony is taking place, and that's when they are being played at the same time. The next tip, and if you know me, you've known me for a long time, and you're a student of mine, you know about this already. And it's start with easier pieces, and you know this next part. And what? Go fast? No, you go slow. Seriously, the number one tip I have in all of music, no matter what it is to go slow. I get a lot of students that tell me they are trying to learn something like Moonlight Sonata in their first few weeks of learning, and this is a mistake for the most part, unless you're some kind of prodigy again, but you're probably not, and will probably lead to more frustration. So if you are trying to read something way above your level and you're just starting out, you don't even really know the basic concepts yet, Or, like I said, there's a difference in music between learning something and fully understanding it, knowing it like the back of your hand. Almost everything in music you want to know, like you don't even have to think about it. Like what key has 5 sharps? So that's the key of B. The 5 sharps it has is F, C, G, D, and A. So that's just an example. You want to be able to pull this music knowledge. What major chord has all 3 sharps? And that's F sharp major. Okay, so you want to build from the bottom. Even if you have to learn nursery rhymes like Itsy Bitsy Spider or something, or Happy Birthday, and then work your way up to where you want to go. You don't want to start all the way at the top at the pieces you want to do, as tempting as that may be. And it's actually a lot more rewarding to go from the easier to the more difficult, because you'll ease yourself into it and you'll be way less frustrated when it's time to learn those more complicated pieces. Okay, another tip I have for you is to use intervals. And we've talked about this before in other lessons, and when I post this, the edited version, I will make sure to post a link to the lesson. The lesson, by the way, if you want to look it up, is How to Read Music Faster, and you'll see my face in the thumbnail, of course. And this lesson is all about how to use intervals to read notes lightning fast. Let me just kind of walk you through it a little bit, in case you're new at this. Okay, so an interval is the distance between 2 notes. So like say from here to here, those bottom 2 notes. And I know right away, because I know my intervals, that is a third. Here you go, I'll show you on the piano actually. That this is a third, that they're 3 notes apart. So anytime you have notes stacked, like see how all 3 of those left-hand notes are space, 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 and they're evenly spaced? Well, this is always some kind of chord, and knowing your chords is really helpful. But this also means, sorry, that's the notes I should have been playing. That also means that the notes are stacked into thirds, and that just makes it a lot easier to figure out what they are, rather than reading each individual note, like, okay, that first one's a G, okay, that second one's a B, that one's a D, top one's a D. Of course, I'm reading from what? The bottom to the top? Yes, bottom to the top. But that takes a long time, and you might even kind of lose track of where you are. But if I say, okay, all 3 of these notes right away on the bottom are stacked thirds. Let me get you back to where you can see the bass clef. They're stacked thirds. You have this note up here. There's another interval from here to here. And because I know my intervals, I know right away that that's a fifth. So it really helps you give your brain a lot more information to go on to be able to read these notes, rather than just trying to read everything separately, which just takes a lot more time. Okay, students, thank you so much for watching today's lesson. One thing I definitely want you to do is subscribe, because we have new lessons coming out on Fridays and Sundays live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we also have lessons and updates peppered out in between, so you don't want to miss a beat. So thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you in the next lesson.